greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on Turning a Moment into a Movement. I am J Love, and I represent the Justice for Gerard Movement. Gerard is my son who was wrongfully convicted of a crime he didn't do. Innocent, and he went to prison for that crime. He served 2 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections for that crime, and because of that journey with him and all the people I met on this journey, we come here every Friday to talk about wrongful convictions, injustice, and things to make our community better. Our mission is to bring awareness to the wrongful conviction of Gerard and all the others who are wrongfully convicted, over sentenced, mentally ill, and medically frail in our community, to inspire, organize, and educate all communities about the needs to disrupt systems, policies, and patterns of the criminal legal systems that leads to wrongful convictions. And that's why we're here every Friday at 8:30 now. We used to come on at 6, but 8:30 now. That's why we're here to discuss and to just have the conversation. Sometimes the conversations are uncomfortable, but they always are very necessary. So thank you for joining us this evening. I want to bring on our panel. They're going to come on and introduce themselves, and we're just going to talk and have a great conversation tonight. We're talking about justice and racial equity. This year is the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. And so this is the first part of an ongoing series where we're going to talk about the Civil Rights Act and 60 years later. So I'm going to bring on the panel. First, I see Revatia in the queue, so I'm going to bring on Revatia. Hi, Revatia. Turn on your mic.
Good evening, everyone. How are you?
We're great. How are you,
Can you hear
Revatia?
me okay?
Yes. How are you?
Good, good. I am wonderful. I am multitasking today, Jay. I had to multitask. I am being a mama again.
Oh, okay.
And
I
no, I
know how
have
that
not birthed any more children. So I don't want anybody to get it twisted.
is.
I tell you, Jay, it's so wonderful to come on here and have these conversations and then put them into action because faith without works is definitely dead. And so I'm so happy that we can not only come on this platform, but we go into action. We have strategies. We talk about solutions, answers, and solutions because the answer we know is within us, it is within our community. So, this is Tia Taylor coming to you from the Choice Zone where I help to make others remember their choice. Remember that they have a choice in this life and to maximize their purpose. Demonstrate that the kingdom of heaven is at hand right now. Uproot, tear down, and destroy all areas of negative influence and bring into the fullness of Christ that is within you, that is within all. That is that anointing, the anointing to know. And so, what I know today is that the connection with my brothers and sisters, that is the answer. That is the answer to help us to free ourselves. We must free ourselves today, free ourselves from the narratives that have been told to us and have a new perspective that change, that shift. The miracle is in the shift of the perception that we see ourselves. And how are you looking at yourself today? So, Jay, I'm looking at ourselves today. I'm looking at us as united, as free, and as strong. And I'm so glad to be here this evening.
I'm glad you're here as well, Revatia. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad to be here.
Yes. So next, I see Trischè. Hi, Trischè. How are you, ma'am?
Blessed. I will say that I am blessed. The world is a hot mess, but in the midst of it, I am blessed. And so, I'm grateful for that. Grateful to be here with my family, um, talking about something that is very important to talk about. Um, But more than talking about it, we need to be about it. And sorry about that. But um, it's a conversation that a lot of people need to start having because it's not as taboo as we think. What's happening to others right now, it could actually happen to you. And I think if we think about it from that lens, I tell people all the time, don't fight for people like you're fighting for them. Fight for them like you're fighting for yourself because you won't drop the ball on you. You won't give up on you. And there are so many people that are over sentenced, medically frail, the wrongfully convicted. I mean, the whole system of mass incarceration that needs to go. So we all got to put our hand to the plow and figure out where's our area. You might not have the same area as somebody else, but there's always something that we can do to bring about change. So I'm happy to be here with a bunch of change makers. And
Yay.
continue on and continue in this. I don't even want to say fight, right? Because the battle's already won. I guess we just the foot soldiers walking out the assignments that we need to work out and walk through, so that we can get the manifestation of the promise. That's what I'm looking for, the manifestation of the promise.
Yes. Wow, Trischè. Thank you. I see Allie's here. Hi, Alexandria.
Hello.
How are you this
Oh
evening?
my
Introduce
goodness,
yourself.
I'm
Allie!
doing good. So good to see y'all. Yeah.
Introduce yourself, Allie. Just in case this is somebody's first time checking in with us.
Yes. So my name's Alexandra Hughes. And I describe myself as a human rights activist. For a long
Yeah.
time I've gone under the titles of criminal justice, mental health. And I after further learnings in life and experiencing this work, I call myself a human rights activist because civil rights is only part of our freedom, and I am about us fully having freedom
Yeah.
wherever we lay our head and we walk around in this body that we have. Um, I am someone who's very passionate about mental health, very passionate about our legal system because I know it's unjust and it can exist better. I'm someone who just does this work because it impacts me and it impacts a lot of us in this world unfairly. So um, I wouldn't say I belong to one organization. I just show up and do the work because I feel like everybody has a everybody can organize and everybody can be an activist. And there's times in your life where you have to. I feel that's a
Mhm.
tool everybody has. We just don't exercise it as much as we can. And
Right.
I do my part to exercise it.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do, Allie. Award winner. Ain't that right, Revertier? Award winner at Allie. Yes. So, and we
That's
all
right.
have
She's always, I tell you, Allie, Trischè, they out there fighting the powers that be. And it is evident.
yes,
And yeah, when you talk about Michigan Coalition for Human Rights, I'm glad you mentioned that, Jay, because today, Bishop, it was announced that Bishop Gumbleton had passed. He was 94 years old. He started Michigan Coalition for Human Rights in 1980. And so each of my colleagues, sisters, of course, I'll be reaching out because you guys are out there, and I just believe awards are coming because you've been out there, you've been doing the work, and not only for the recognition, but Michigan Coalition for Human Rights also joins with people to help their whatever they're standing for, and it's good to have that type of support.
yes. And we got to talk about the event. But before we get to the event, um, I want to say before we let introduce the next person. Hello to everyone that's watching on Twitter, YouTube, um, Instagram, who's going to listen later on Apple and and all the podcast platforms. We just want to recognize you guys and thank you for supporting us and your continued support. And just please share these because we're putting this information out because there's people who are looking and trying to find help. And so if we can be a tool and a source for them, we'll be appreciated, and I'm sure they appreciate it as well. So now that I got that out, next, Attorney Matt, welcome.
Much love and appreciation. You know, J Love, when you say before we put on the next person, I just have a feeling you're talking about me. So,
yeah, that's what I was talking about, Attorney
Matt. Well, now see, first of all, I'm so honored to be back in front of you again in the land of the living. Hugo J. Mack here, Esquire, Dr. Mack to some people. I want to let you know this, that for me, it's an honor to be here. And I've said it before, I say it again. Other than like the 47,000 of my colleagues, I did not parachute from heaven to grace y'all with my presence, okay? I came up from hell through the blood of God and Jesus Christ to be here. I understand wrongful conviction, being a victim of it myself, but I realize the greatest victory is really not about me, the individual. It's about the cause. It's the cause. Because, you know, in every war, there are battles. And in every battle, there's a casualty. Okay. So, you know, I just thank God for making me realize that regardless of what happens to me personally, the issue is the cause, is the cause. And, you know, J Love, that's why I love so much working with you and being with this group, because as a criminal defense attorney, I see the people that are wrongfully convicted. I've stood next to them. I've seen the people overly convicted. I've certainly seen the people run through the system that have mental health issues, okay? And I know from personal experience what it's like seeing people that have no business whatsoever in a penitentiary. They need to be in a mental health facility getting help and getting structure, okay, what they need. And I, you know, hey, look, I got news for y'all out there in case some of my, as Dr. King would say, some of our sick brothers and sisters out there, putting a bunch of black folks, what you think, in jail and prison, that's not making you safer. See, because that cancer, that racism, that systemic racism that you think you leveling on us, it stays with you. It stays with you. And it's going to start eating you up, you see. You see, because I've got news for that sickness, that systemic racism. If there were no black people, you'd still be sick, because you'd find some religion or some economic group or what have you, you know, to try to fill that void that in my life experience can only be filled by God, you see. So we're here, and, you know, we're not going to stop the fight. Like I said, in every war, there's casualties, but it's the cause that's important, because when the cause wins, I win, you know. So there we are. And, you know, I think we all know the intro that is about to come. And see, J Love, you tickle me because you know I'm gonna do this, J Love. You know I'm gonna do this. You know, and the rest of y'all. Okay, so Hugo J. Mack here. If you find yourself on Trouble Boulevard, push, pull, tow, drag that hoopity to Mack Street. Mack Street. And when you're there, park in my virtual underground garage. And once you're there, call the Freedom Line, 734-239-3118. The Freedom Line, 734-239-3118. The Freedom Line, 734-239-3118. Because J Love and crew, I want you to know something right quick. hmaclaw.com is your hookup. hmaclaw.com is your hookup. hmaclaw.com is your hookup. Now, J Love, in order to give you and the audience opportunity to write this pertinent information down, I'd like you to bear with me while I and Aaliyah entertain you with the slow drag boogaloo. And then, J Love, not to leave anybody out, with my co-host Reverend Tia from Pulp Fiction, The Batman. And introducing to some and reintroducing others, our newest edition, in honor of our great host, our newest dance, the Janus. You see, because Aaliyah's right. At your best, y'all are love. Positive motivating force within our lives. Okay, thank you, Aaliyah. That's enough for you. Okay. And people get so greedy. So you know what, J-Love? So you know what, J-Love? I'm going to tell y'all something. J-Love, I know the pressure put on you. I spoke to you the other day. I heard about the GoFundMe to get rid of Hugo Mack GoFundMe. I understand that. But J-Love, I just hope you don't yield to the pressure. You know, because I got a message for all the haters out there listening and, you know, sending a woman all email, stopping by the woman's house, putting a note on the woman's car. You know, I'm going to tell you like my late cousin Bernie. I ain't scared of none of y'all. So you see, so I want y'all to understand that, all the haters out there. And, you know, J-Love, if you was to yield to temptation and to kick me off the show, you know the first thing I would do, J-Love?
No.
I'd go outside in the rain, J-Love. Now, J-Love, now you may ask, why would you go outside in the rain? I'm listening, J-Love.
Right. Oh, why? Why would you go outside in the rain, Attorney Matt?
Because raindrops that hide my teardrops. And no one would ever know that I'm crying, J-Love. I'm crying. Deep down, I'm dying. Now, see, to the world outside my tears, J-Love, I refuse to explain. I just wish it would rain, J-Love. I just wish it would rain. So I want you to understand that I'm speaking to you from my heart. And you know what, J-Love? If you was kicking me off the show, you know the second thing would happen? J-Love, you would make me the seventh shylight. Now, you may say, why would you be the seventh shylight? I'm listening, J-Love.
Why? I'll tell you back.
Because if you'd kick me off, I'd go for walks, to the movies, maybe to the park. J-Love, I'd have a seat on that same old bench and I'd watch the children play. You know, Tia, tomorrow's their future, but for me, it's just another day. See, because J-Love, I've been with y'all so long, I know I can't hide from your memory, although day after day I try. I wake up every morning saying, J-Love, she'll call me back, but today again, I've lied. So you see, J-Love, I want you to understand, it's a terrible thing, J-Love. It's a terrible thing. So J-Love, I just want to leave y'all with the words of my great friend Morris Day. J-Love, ain't nothing worse than rejection. Rather than kick me off the show, I'd feel a little better if you just slapped my face. So, you know, J-Love, so these are the things that I want you to understand, J-Love. And I want you to understand, J-Love, when people ask you, J-Love, that man is crazy. The man is crazy. Does he really mean those things that he says? I want you to tell him. You're damn right he does. You see, this unashamed self-promotion, Hugo Mack, hmack@hotmail.com, is authored by me, Hugo J. Mack Esquire, the one true king of Russia, Scotland, and Lower Harlem. I love you.
I will put my plug in, Attorney Matt. I'm just going to say this. I've had to call the Freedom line. I had to call the Freedom line, y'all.
Hey, you better know people keep calling me, ask me, do you know any attorneys? I say, yeah. Attorney Hugo Mack. Call the Freedom line.
There you go.
And the one person was like, I think I talked to him before. I said, well, talk to him again.
Right. I don't know about y'all, but I did have to call the Freedom line, 734-239-3118. And Attorney Mack will show up and work it out for you. So I'm just saying. This is my plug for Attorney Mack.
Well, God bless you.
If you need an attorney.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Yeah. Look, I had to too. And I know one thing. I'm never going into the courtroom without the Maxter. Because you
We
know they're
laughing,
already
but this
trying
is
to build a
serious.
case. They're trying to build a
Right,
case. So I need somebody who knows what to do.
right.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just say this before we get started. You cannot walk into these courts without no representation.
That's
I'm
true.
telling you.
That's true.
Don't do it.
That's right.
I'm telling you, do not do it. You might as well just put the noose around your own neck because they are not there for you.
That's right.
I don't care how you could be on the prosecutor's side. Ain't that right, Attorney Matt?
Absolutely. A victim. Not
You
on
could,
the prosecution. A victim. A victim.
yes, you could be the victim and they still treat you with bias. Okay?
That's right. That's right.
Attorney Mack is a criminal attorney, yes. And what else other law you do, Attorney Mack?
Well, all manner of civil laws, you know. Sometimes people invite me to their weddings. I know it ain't gonna work. So my wedding present to them is 50% off on their divorce. So,
Okay, I don't know about that one.
no. Okay. No. Just kidding. So, but you know, doing a lot of work with poor people. Unfortunately, a higher percentage of them Black women because of systemic racism. In terms of housing, transportation, you know, and I'm gonna say this, J Love, and believe me, I'm just speaking the truth here. It really gets to me when I see people of privilege who try to hijack a cause because it's the cause of the day or the week or the month. Okay.
Yeah.
A couple of years back, it was Black Lives Matter. Okay. And then fading away. And then, well, it's a woman's issue thing. Now they on to saving the whales. Okay. So what I'm saying is that when I see people that try to hijack situations who have absolutely no idea what the suffering people actually going through, it bothers me because they're headline grabbers, and it galls me when I see people of privilege try to pretend they know how to speak for every disadvantaged, sexually violated, low self-esteem Black woman out there when you have absolutely no idea, because I never see you in court. I might see you, you had some kind of organization, but when it comes down to being with them women in court, I don't see some of these folks. I see y'all. Right. I see y'all. But anyway, so that's what I dedicate my practice to, is those people that are continue to be marginalized, because I know what that's all about. So we fighting a good fight, and as long as the Lord give us health and strength, we're gonna keep on doing that.
Yes. Thank you, Attorney Matt. So you guys, let's talk about the Civil Rights Act 60 years later. I have a video, of course, and I want to play this video. Hold on. And then we can just get into the conversation. Here we go.
I really think people need to understand today, 56 years later, what Dr. King and that movement did for America. It literally changed the social dynamics of this country, many of which are under threat today. When you look at the fact, in the last year, we've lost affirmative action by a right-wing Supreme Court, a ruling that has really hurt voting rights, if not taking the gut out, women's right to choose. This whole movement that now is waving Bibles have really removed the moral movement Dr. King stood for. I wouldn't go as far as saying they're the anti-Christ, but they're the anti-King. If there's an anti-King, it's Donald Trump, because many of the things that Dr. King fought for is and has been destroyed by this Supreme Court and by the policies that Trump and them are putting out.
So this week not this week, this year, we've been seeing a lot of pushback at DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusions. A lot of people losing their jobs, a lot of programs being disrupted. And we look at these things and you know, for most people, they don't look at it as an issue. But it is an issue for us. But we really are so distracted with all the popular things that's going on in entertainment and all over the world that we're not even, I'm going to say not all of us, but a lot of us are not really paying attention to what's really going on and the underlying things that it's going to affect. So I know I was talking to you about this, Attorney Matt, and so what are your thoughts?
Well, the thing of it is this, is that we've got to wake up to the fact that we oftentimes, and I've said it before, and I know all you have to, we're really aiding and abetting in our own destruction is what we're doing. Because anytime you can have a buffoon get on the TV and think he can wave some gold sneakers in front of black folk, okay, and you know, like a porch monkey run into a banana, you know, we will be there, okay, and say, well, black people love me because they buying my shoes. And when I say we aid in our own destruction, I'm gonna call some very specific names out here. When you've got a Candace Owens aiding in our own destruction. When we have a Tim Scott aiding in our own destruction. I think his name is Byron Donaldson, a congressman from Florida, the biggest Trump supporter in the nation, okay? And what I'm saying is that we need to start to be brave enough to call people out that are supposedly within our ranks, because they do not speak for us. They speak for themselves and whoever and the person they serve. They don't speak for us. So I guess what I'm saying is my big pushback is in directly confronting those folks who try to act like they've arrived, and the black people in America, we have arrived. And the reason we're not where we're supposed to be, we're lazy, we're shiftless, you know, we're having too many babies, don't want to take advantage of what America has blessed us with. And I'm saying, so for me, J Love, when you want to start talking about the conversation, I'm looking at Trump and I'm looking at all the supporters, but I'm also looking at people that are supposed to be on my team, okay, or look like they're on my team anyway. And you know, and so we got to start calling people out, J Love. And by the way, let me say this about this lady Candace Owens, because I mean, I'm steamed about this. Now she want to come back to black folk, okay? Now she want to come back to black folk, okay? She want to talk about how she was done wrong, but this is the same woman that said Ahmaud Arbery was breaking into houses. Remember that? Yes, she did. Yes, she did. She said, don't nobody go jogging with the kind of clothes he had on. And then people had a right to confront him. And, you know, this is the woman that said, if she's on an airplane and she sees a black pilot, the first thing she thinks is they can't be qualified. I know they got that position because of some kind of affirmative action. Okay. This is the woman that says all that. Okay. And so what I'm saying is, J Love, for me, now that she criticized the wrong folks. She went to talking about them Jewish folks, and they got her behind. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. They got her behind out of there. So now she wants to come back to us, okay? You know, and talk about, you know, black people misunderstood her. I didn't misunderstand nothing. I followed you for over 10 years. I've heard all the scandalous things you said about black folk. So anyway, all I'm trying to say is this. We got to start standing up and calling out these black folks and quit letting white folks control the narrative. Quit letting white folks say, well, you're just against her because she's an independent thinker. You know what? An independent thinker, nothing. A sellout and a traitor to what she's supposed to be because of the money and finances. Now it's run out and she want to come back home. I say the door is closed. So that's my initial sermon, y'all, you know, on the issue. Because they're the ones like with Tim Scott. America is not a racist country. Remember that? Okay. Remember Tim Scott, who by the way, got elected initially because they said he was a virgin, by the way. Tim Scott, who started off his presidential campaign, he did. The evangelicals, don't take my word for it. Read it yourself. In South Carolina, he was a black man that was against the narrative of the black ape, oversexed black ape, that no white woman is safe around. He's a virgin, so they could trust him. They could trust him. So he's the one that started his campaign for president at Fort Sumter, and was proud to be there. So anyway, J Love, I guess I'm gonna be quiet from here on out. But when you talk about what all we need to do, we need to start confronting the people that are lying and say they represent us, that we don't need the Voting Rights Act, we don't need the Civil Rights Act, we don't need affirmative action. To start calling them out to their faces.
Yes. Go ahead, Allie. You look like you got something on your mind.
I do. Yeah, this, they say if you want to know the future, know your past. And the banning of DEI policies, it has me thinking about that. This whole banning has had me thinking about that, because when you think about what we used to be as a country, what we started as a country, this trend of banning DEI policies is trying to take us back to that. It's a dog whistle to take us back to the times before the abolition of slavery.
That's right.
And things of that sort.
That's right.
And which is why, as much as they want to, the Civil Rights Act is the Civil Rights Act. The Constitution, it has things, as much as I have issues with the Constitution, there's things baked into it that prevents discrimination. And I think about the 14th Amendment specifically. As much as they want to try to change these things, it's too many people that agree with it. The diversity, equity, and inclusion includes folks that are not Black and brown. And it makes it where you are included in any environment. These are not policies that don't benefit you. Quite the opposite. It means that everyone can have a seat or an equal opportunity, regardless of where on the race they start, where they come from. So banning these policies is going to hurt those melanated and lacking melanation. Whether they want to believe that or not. Mm-hmm. Also simply think, folks have to, taking action on this means looking local. I know no one's hype about the election. I'm not either. I don't like the federally our options. I don't. What I will say is right now you need to zone in on local politics. Who's running for governor? Who's running for state reps? Who's running for mayor, city council, clerk, all these things, from county, state to local, your city, because these are the policies that you can really impact. DEI policies exist on the local level. They do. And they're the schools that your children go to. They exist there. So if you don't want to be harmed by these things or want these things to impact your life, locally is where you need to start.
Yes,
and moreover,
I said, could you say that again about locally? This is where you need to start.
Yes, because I can. If you want to make an impact, start looking at locally the judges, the county judges running for county seats, running for different districts. Look at the state reps. There's multiple of them. Look at your senator. Look at there's the school board members and things like that. The Secretary of State. These are people that can pass major policies on education, reparations that they have. Look at California. They passed a reparations bill. That is a local effort. So if you want something to really happen for you and want to see it and be able to contact your elected officials, that's who you need to reach. They work for us. We pay taxes. They're the people our tax dollars go to. The legal system and our elected officials. So these are the people you should be knocking on the doors of. And you have that access. There's a public office. Public means it's for our access, community access.
Right. Allie, I'm so glad you brought that up, because we talk about the president like that's where the buck ends. And everybody, we only have these conversations once every 4 years. But then we had these local elections where there's policies and laws that impact you. People are sometimes oblivious to what's going on. They don't know who their state rep is. They don't know who their, state senator is. They don't know anything on a local level, but all they know is when it's the president and how everything is Joe Biden fault or how this person is fault. But really, if you pay attention to what's going on in your local area and the people who you are electing to these seats, this is how you get things changed on a larger scale. But if you're not voting in these elections, if you're not paying attention and anybody's getting in, then anybody is going to Congress. Anybody is going to that don't really agree with with how you think and how you feel. And this how these things happen. Go ahead, Allie.
Yeah, the last thing I was going to say too, there was an example of this, right? You see, take Oregon, for example. After 2020 and all the different things we saw, there was legislation that passed where drugs were being decriminalized for the most part. And major, there's now Bill 4002 that recriminalizes drugs. This recently passed earlier this year. Now, this is what I mean when I'm saying local politics affecting people. Majority of people in jail, in prisons, drug possession is a large reason. And a lot of times it's addiction. It's mental health. It's not necessarily you're just out here selling drugs and then this horrible person. There's reasons behind what you're doing. And there's research to show that. And Oregon is an example. Another example, Oakland County, during the last municipal election, they recently passed a bill where they now have the largest public transportation system in the county. They've never had one that would allow people to work in Detroit and take a bus through the county to get to, say, I don't know, Royal Oak. And now they have that because the people voted for that public transportation system so that anybody, regardless of where you live, can take the bus from Detroit all the way to Troy to get to work. And majority who takes the buses is young folk, people of color, people who, middle class. I took the bus, once in my life before. So everybody, you need things. So I say that to say these are the policies that matter locally. These are things that pass. And these are things, the one in Oakland County, that was something we did. But it can be bad on the other end, like in Oregon, if we, just allow things we don't do anything and we just say, oh, local doesn't matter. We do that. Then we allow these evil figures to get in play and they criminalize you for everything. And that's what we don't want.
Right. Yes. Trischè. Hey, Trischè.
Sorry, I couldn't get my mute off. I mean, what do you even say? It's so much that Attorney Mack and Allie just said that we could just stop the whole show and marinate on that, right? And I think what spoke to me, what Attorney Mack was saying, is that we must speak up. People say, I don't call people out. I call people in. Call them out, call them in, do whatever you want to do. But the reason why I say it needs to be a call out, because see, our Caucasian siblings sometimes will select their acceptable Black, and then that acceptable Black will build that power, right? Because sometimes they only want to deal with 1, 2, 3 of us, right? And so then you begin to build all of this power as an individual. You don't turn around and build the power with your community. And that's very strategic because they know if they pick you, you just want the power and you're not going to turn around and give it to your community, which is why we have Tim Scotts and Candace Owens, and they got a taste of that power. And it needs to stop. And so if you don't call them out, because the calling out is a double fold, it's two-pronged, right? Because it's saying to us, stop. Just stop. You don't speak for us. I don't know who you're speaking for, but it dang sure ain't us. And then it lets our Caucasian siblings know, I see you. I see what you're doing. Like, prime example, down here in Ypsilanti, the city of Ypsilanti, there's a recall that's happening. And a bunch of our Caucasian siblings, older, baby boomers, did not like this young lady and some of the things that she was doing. Now, mind you, when they first were going to recall, they were going to recall the mayor and two a city council. Well, somebody, I would say, probably influenced them, like, you don't touch the mayor. So they called it off of her. They called it off the other person. I just got it against this one girl. Well, we already know what she looked like, right? Black. So they won't look racist. Okay. So they won't look racist. Who you think they went and put money up for this person? And so now you got an older Black gentleman who I told him, I said, you ought to be ashamed of yourself to be the one that they selected to take a Black woman down because she's using her voice and using her influence, and y'all don't agree with it. But this is what happens. We get pit against each other. And all of these things, like Allie said, you're trying to take us back, right? You're trying to take us back to those days where it was like, shoot, I want some extra meat today. I'm going to tell on you. It's this mentality. That's what it is. It's a mentality and it's a mindset. And unless we shift, I'm not going to say unless, because everybody ain't going to go along. Everybody ain't coming with us. Everybody ain't. I wish everybody would, but everybody ain't coming with us. We see Harriet had to do what she had to do with some folks. She trying to free them, and they talking about, Master, here she go. We got to stop. We got to stop playing games with ourselves. Then we got to stop letting people play games with us, because I'm going to tell you something. You may be the acceptable Black today, but I'm telling you, your day is coming where they remind you that you Black.
Candace Owens.
That part. That's that right there. They gonna remind you that you Black. So you may as well just go ahead and just be yourself. And that was the moral of the story in Magical Negroes. Because in Magical Negroes, we wanted to do everything to make our Caucasian siblings comfortable so that we could be comfortable. But it was a manipulation. See, when you love somebody, you ain't manipulating them. You're going to tell them the truth. And in the end, the boy stood up and he just was himself. And they respected that, right? And so that's what it's about. We got to be ourselves. We got to stand for what we know is right. And we got to call out the folks who are coming against what we know and coming against our liberty and our freedom.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is because we would call some people out there, call you out, Trischè. They'll call you out, Allie. They'll call you out, Attorney Mac, Revertia. But, when those who want to be likable, those who want to stand with the status quo, those who want to get along so they can go along, we don't want to call them out for whatever reason. We don't want to say, they're selling us out, or I don't agree with their policies or whatever. But if Trischè, if you take yourself back up there to Huron Valley, they calling you out. Allie, they're calling you out, and so we have to, I don't know, I think we need to figure out what it is that we really want. Do we really want to be free? Do we really want to be free?
And at what cost?
Yeah.
At what cost? Because the thing about it is that a lot of times people will say they want to be free, but they want to be free and they want to be convenient about it. It's for convenience sake. They're not thinking about the cost. They're not thinking about, well, you might have to lose a day's pay in order to get into to demonstrate or to walk up or march on Washington during a business day and disrupt things. Not to be combative and try to take over, but to have your voice heard. and not just your voice, but the voice of many people. The problem is that we keep falling for the dangled carrot that is before us, and it comes in many shapes and sizes, and it has a dollar sign to it. And sometimes it doesn't even have a dollar sign. It just has influence. It's just the expectation of the influence. So the problem I have is that we keep looking back. As long as we keep looking back, we don't move forward. We can't move forward because we keep looking back. And not only when we look back and then want to look forward with the perspective through the eyes of the oppressor. You can't look forward through the oppressor's eyes and then want to be like them. So we have to heal before we can even go forward because we keep wanting to assimilate.
Mm.
And we assimilate because we don't even know who we are.
Okay, Reverend.
That has me thinking, do people even know what freedom is? Because how can you make that commitment if you don't even know it? Like you can't think it's this. You can't be that silly. I pray for you if you are.
No, it's a condition though. Somebody just said it. It was Allie. We must decarcerate our mind, right?
Oh yeah, the
If
mindset
you
is
are born a slave, how do you know you're in slavery? Because you was born into it. This is your routine. You wake up, you go pick the cotton, you go do whatever it is that you do. Now, as you get older, you may learn, but even if you learn, you're still caught up. We have gotten so conditioned that we are an active participant to the assimilation. It's no longer assimilation. We have assimilated.
Yes.
That makes me think about how I think about, like, I'm just thinking of like people like Booker T. Washington and W.E.B. Du Bois, one born as a slave and then no longer a slave, and their perspective versus W.E.B. Du Bois, who was not born into slavery and was saying that we in order to truly remove slavery, we must remove all the parts of it in order to truly like abolish slavery. When 13th Amendment happened, he was saying, no, well, policing and all these different elements that are extensions, we have to get rid of that too to truly abolish slavery. So we're not done. Whereas Booker T. Washington was more the get along, like Black people just need their own stuff. We just need our own stuff, like not necessarily remove the system and create a beautiful one. So it makes me think of that. There's folks who just can't flip that switch. They can't turn the other way. And that mindset is, actions is one thing, but if your mindset is another way,
right,
that's a lot of work. So I agree, the healing has to happen.
And can I just say this for a moment, please?
Yeah.
Allie said something that was so profound and true. See, the problem I have with that Booker T. Washington mantra through the ages, let us get ourselves together, it doesn't work. Because, see, his great mistake was thinking that we can advance ourselves and be divorced from the society around us. See, that's his big mistake right there. He thought that we could build doctors, lawyers, our own cities, our own sub-rosa economy, and don't worry about the social aspect. Well, wasn't it about 102 years ago, there was a thriving Black community in Oklahoma that was bombed, destroyed, hundreds of Black people killed, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Also race riot. Was that Greenwood in Tulsa? The name escapes me in the moment. But and now we see the only two survivors of that era trying to go into court and get some manner of reparations and being roadblocked. So if Booker T was here right now, I'd say, God bless you, brother. But you are a slave. I'm sorry. You are a slave. You say, oh, well, he had Tuskegee. Yeah. Okay. That's nice. That's nice. You still a slave. Because what you fail to realize is you thought that you could prosper and advance, and the white folks are going to give you a pass. Wrong. Okay. So the minute you became a threat, the minute Black Wall Street became a threat, they was out of here. And look, and I'm sure all y'all know this. The United States government was part of that. They had United States Air Force planes dropping bombs on the community.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? Incendiaries on that community. Okay. So what I'm saying is that this whole thing about, well, you know what? Just pull yourself up. Just work a little bit harder. It's there. And I'm telling you, after the Civil War, and y'all know about the Freedmen's Bureau, right? After the Civil War, Frederick Douglass, by the way, was no pauper, by the way. Frederick Douglass put an astronomical amount of money into that, and other people did too, to try to be able to help Black people advance and have something. They bankrupted them, y'all. They bankrupted them. So don't you dare stand by and let somebody tell you, well, slavery is over with. Everybody living today, don't ask about no reparations. Well, our ancestors suffered, and the suffering is going on for us today. So see, for me, I actually go about trying to look for these people to debate with, and I'll be honest with you, because it's inside of me, and I run and I lift weights and all that. I'm not satisfied. I want to confront somebody.
Yeah, and on that point right there of DEI, things like the Homestead Act, the GI Bill.
Right.
These were things that we did not benefit from at all.
That's right.
Simply because we were Black.
That's
This is why DEI initiatives especially exist, to give us access so we can build wealth in those ways.
That's right.
To have a home, to build generational wealth that wasn't given to us because of redlining. There is a long list of harms that this country has done.
That's
and
right.
DEI is the least we could have. It's
That's
not
right.
even half.
That's right. The least, right in there with affirmative action. The late Colin Powell, who I did not agree with him falling on his sword for George Bush, by the way. But aside from that, he said before he passed, all this assault on affirmative action, which is just a remedial measure to what has been done to Black people, okay? A small drop in the bucket to try to even make the field look even, and they still don't want that. So,
but see, Attorney Matt, we out here drinking the purple Kool-Aid and listening to these narratives, and we feel like, hey, we made it. I done pulled myself up by the bootstraps.
Right.
I live in West Bloomfield. I live whatever, and I'm doing this, and I drive a Benz, and no, you wouldn't even be in these spaces if it wasn't for these programs.
That's right.
And they don't see what's happening now. What's still happening?
That's
they
right.
They don't see. They only see what they want to see, or what's being shown through the media.
That's right.
And on TV.
That's right.
But if you really go into the community and amongst the people, or sit at court, like Trischè always says, sit at court or view court. Just view it. I've been going on and viewing it, and sometimes it's just disheartening how the judge and the prosecutors can work so closely together and put so many people behind bars. And to see the discrimination of the same person going before the judge and having a totally different sentence than my Black brother or my African American sister.
That's true.
And so we're over sentenced. It's okay when I'm blinded by this society and that I'm living my best life, but I haven't gone into the prisons. I haven't gone to see who's behind bars. I
Right.
haven't had any conversation with anybody. I
Right.
haven't visited anybody. That
Right.
relative who's behind bars, well, he was bad off anyway. He was a bad apple anyway. Well, I don't know. I don't know. He could have done it. We, our people, and I still say we because I'm gonna claim my heritage. But when you know who you are and whose you are, I know that I'm color coded for a purpose.
Right.
And I know this one thing, that the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Now, I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know that I'm not going to be the one to be blindsided by the ridiculousness of this world and what has been happening, and to just accept things as they are, as if it's okay. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not. It's not okay when you have to raise your child to know that you're going to be different. You're going to be different. You can't drive to certain places at night. You can't do that. You can drive through, but if you drive through, you got to make sure both hands are on the steering wheel and that you are driving the speed limit. And
And
when
that
you
could be
tell them,
happening.
yeah, and you can still get pulled over.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
You could still get pulled over, and they may ask you some questions, and you probably didn't do anything at all.
You know,
The day
Tia,
my son said, and Mama, he put his hand on the gun, getting ready to draw it, and I wasn't doing anything.
mhm, mhm, mhm,
And I wanted to find that man.
mhm,
He was so scared he didn't even get the officer's information.
mhm,
And I'm sitting on the other side of it, wanting his information and wanting to find him.
mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go ahead, Attorney Mack. I'm sorry. I get emotional about that.
No, 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 no.
Still want to find him.
I I don't know if you heard about this, but I listened to the black the commentary show. I think it's 11:30 a.m. You know, I can't remember the proper name of it right now, but they talk about situations throughout the country, and it's not just a Southern thing, as you know. They're telling the story about a man that has a service about, and he drives like a Uber sort of like thing. And you know, and they said he's been stopped like 7 times in 5 months. Okay. And in Cape Cod, by the way, okay, Cape Cod, you know, about as northern as you can get. Okay? We're not talking about Alabama, we're talking about Cape Cod, okay? And so when I listen to that, it just reinforces with me that it's not a regional thing, it's a national thing. Okay, it's a national thing, because here in the state of Michigan, when you look at, unfortunately, the Democrats took over, eliminated that right to work law. Remember that? Remember how Snyder and Republicans put in that right to work. Okay, see, a direct assault on a working wage. Okay, a direct assault on a working wage. Okay, and a living wage. So what I'm saying is that I really appreciate, like, for example, what Allie was saying about things being local, because these people are making those decisions. Okay, those legislatures are making those decisions. And when they do things like, you know, skip all the unions, you know, skip public education. Look, black people, y'all got to start to wake up. They talking about you. You really got to start to wake up. You know, and then when I listen about, well, you know, black people have a right to have their kids educated the best way they can. You know, that's a dodge. Okay, that's a dodge, because if the public schools were appropriately funded the way they should be, they would be educated the way they're supposed to be. And the reason you don't want public schools, you don't want any kind of unions being involved in politics, you don't want any Democrats and union people being elected, you want straight right-wing non-union people being elected. And so, black people, if you think you can sit by and say, don't worry about, you know, who's on your school board, you know, don't worry about your governorship, well, keep on thinking that. And all you've done is you put your seat on the Lido deck a little further behind on the Titanic. That's all you've done. So, you can laugh at me and say, look at that, look at him, look at Attorney Mack. he over there by the rail. Look at him. He finna go under. Well, keep on laughing. But your deck chair is going to slide down just where mine's is. Now, it may take a little longer. It may take a little while for the ship to list a little more. Candace Owens. But you see, you found out your black behind is right there with the rest of us now. Yes, you are. And by the way, should have learned from your big sister Amorosa. See?
You know what? Sometimes I think too, maybe people don't know how, and this is silly to say. I mean, I guess as someone that has been doing this work, I just know, and I try to think, okay, there's some folks who maybe don't know how to plug in or where to plug in, or is intimidated by politics, annoyed with politics. I understand all that. But the truth is politics will handle you regardless of whether you're plugged in or not. And just more reason why we need to be involved. And look at Illinois, for example, ended cash bail completely. And a lot of our tax dollars, it goes to these jails. They make our license plates. We don't get a say about what our tax dollars go to. If we could you imagine how much we could do?
Right.
It shouldn't be a fact that the 10 richest people in the world, in America, can end student loan debt for all Americans. That shouldn't be a reality, but it is. So to people, I say the jails, the current system of paying for your freedom, in order to not be in jail, you have to have enough money. That violates the 14th Amendment. That's unconstitutional. And that is how the people of Illinois were able to end cash bail, off of that kind of messaging. And that was Black folks, y'all. That was community advocacy that pushed for that. So we can do it too. That is local politics, local folks. Once again, something major affecting the entire state. And we can have that too. We can have our money go into something way better, something that elevates people's health. We just have to make that decision.
I agree, Allie, because I remember it might have been 3 or 4 years ago that there was a lawsuit by the parent. I'm not sure it was the parents or whoever, but it was against Detroit public schools, and they were suing for the right for the kids to be able to read. I don't know if you remember that, Attorney Matt, but there was a big thing, and then the governor, it was against the governor or whatever, but they were suing because the kids, basically they were saying that they're not responsible for the kids having a right to read, hey. And I'm just saying in 2020, 2022, these are the things that we're fighting for, for your kids to have the right to read. Like, they don't care. Hey, all we do is provide the school. Basically what they were saying, we just provide the school. Whether your kid learns how to read or not, it's not our responsibility. So these are the people, when you don't vote, you're voting. So, you think I'm not voting. It doesn't have any. Yes. If your kids are going to these schools, your grandkids are going to these schools, it's your relatives, it impacts you. These things impact you because 3rd grade is when they start looking at these children as spaces in prison, right? So if your kid's not reading, they're not comprehending, guess what? They making a space for them. And they're getting younger and younger and younger and younger. And they're going, anytime they're prosecuting 10-year-olds, 8-year-olds, they're pulling kindergartners out of school in handcuffs. They're making a space for your kid, and you're not even participating in the process for your children to be able to read, to be able to comprehend, to be able to establish themselves out here. So we have to take responsibility as well of what's going on and what are we looking at now. Because what we're looking at now, these things that are manifesting and in these governments, is have to do a lot with us not doing our part.
Mhm.
Not showing up on court, not being a part of a jury, not, we don't
Mhm.
want to have anything to do with processes until something happens to us, and then it's almost too late.
It's too
Well,
late. Yeah, and you know the thing about it is, if we get outside of our box and see what other counties are doing, what other school systems are doing, what other public school systems are doing, we can see. When you
mhm,
see more dollars, when you see the difference, first of all, in the dollar amount per person and per student allocated to the school, and then when you see how the monies are allocated and what they're going to, and then when you go into other more lucrative school systems and see that they have a whole psychosocial team that is concerned and wraps themselves around the child for their mental health needs while they're at school with gentle teaching so that they're not being abused because of their exasperated behaviors,
mhm,
whether they have autism or any other trauma. When you see other systems that are looking at trauma and they're not even the same color, when you see this, then you see the difference. Then
mhm,
you know, they're not calling. There were schools I went to, they have a policy, they just don't call the police. Help me, somebody.
Mhm.
We have to care about our own. And the only thing that's missing is compassion for our own.
mhm.
And that's why we need to heal, because we have not developed compassion for our own children.
That's true. And look, can I just add this one thing here? There have been black politicians. The man's name escapes me now, but he said, well, he's a champion of charter schools because charter schools are public schools. I make a living by twisting words and redefining terms. You know what I'm saying? And
Mhm.
so I guess I want to touch back on the charter school system and the public school system, because I think that is like one of the greatest threats to our community, to be able to this move to eliminate public schools. Okay, because remember now, under a public school, they've got to take everybody. Your tax dollars are paying for your child to be educated. Maybe your child has got a learning disability. Okay, maybe your child has got a handicap or something like that. Okay, public schools are there to address those needs. Your tax dollars are there to address those needs. Anytime you start getting into like a private school or quote unquote a charter school, hey folks, you lose a whole lot of control over who gets in and who doesn't. Okay, if 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 you talk to people who have their kids in private schools, they've got their own standards they've got to meet. They've got like a dress code. Okay, they've got to do well. What if you're from a family you can't afford to send your child in a specific suit, a suit coat every day? Okay, so
Mhm.
you're like out in the cold. What if you don't have transportation to get your child 20 miles away? Okay, see what I'm saying? So I guess what I'm saying is I hope somebody is listening to this, that will be able to understand. Everybody that talks about the public school system is so terrible and so bad, you really got to look at the motive why they're saying that and why they're pushing that. Okay, why they're pushing that, and if they can convince enough people, for example, to talk about how terrible the Detroit public school system is. Well, like I said, people moving out of the neighborhood, they move out of the neighborhood, the revenue goes. The revenue goes, that's less money for the public school systems, less money for police, less money for public services. And the whole goal is, y'all understand, where you going to go? Okay? Where are you going to go? Okay? You eliminate the black community, where are you going to go? All of you are not going to be able to fit in West Bloomfield. Okay, okay, in Birmingham. Okay, so I guess what I'm saying is, when I listen to y'all talk, it gives me encouragement that we got to start building our own. We got to start being loving where we are. Okay, where we are, You know, I do a lot of work on the south side of Ipsy. Look here, I'm gonna tell you what, people say what they want. I love me some south side of Ipsy. And so what I'm saying is, because I've met some beautiful, beautiful, beautiful people, big hearts, generous. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, y'all, you know, let's stop trying to run from ourselves, I guess is what I'm saying, you know, and it's okay to be black or brown, you know. I mean, it's it's not going to kill y'all to love who you are. That's all I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, because we criminalize each other, and that's why we live in these areas where we're over police, because we believe that we need the police on everything. We got cameras. I didn't even know how many cameras. There's cameras everywhere all over Detroit. Just cameras, cameras.
Yeah.
They got sound spotter or whatever it is. Well, you know, all of these things that you think is protecting you, it's not protecting you. It's criminalizing you. You think it's for you think it is, oh, this is going to get the criminals. No, it's criminalizing you in your own neighborhood. You can become a target. Why do you think so many people out here are talking about, you know, being exonerated and they're coming home after 10, 20, 30 years, you know, because they was criminalized in their own neighborhood. Somebody accused them of something. We looking at Chicago, Illinois, where they had so many exonerated. Like they've been number one for the last, I don't know, 5, 6 years for exonerees, because they had police officers there that was so corrupt. That's so corrupt. And they're finally, you know, getting these guys. But this is not only in Illinois. This is all over the United States. So we buy into these narratives because somebody said, hey, we're going to spend $1 million and we're going to put all these cameras up and it's going to make you feel safe. No, it's going to do more than that. It's going to make you look like a criminal every time you get in your car, every time you drive down your street or down these streets. So we have to look for all these things that we're asking for or putting out. Is it really for us? Because they're making tons of money. They putting up $1 million cameras all over the place. But guess what? How much money they're making every time you go in them courtrooms?
Yeah, like I'd like to know, for people to ask. I'd like for people to ask their elected officials. Once again, public number, public information. Call them, go to their building. They work for you. I would like to know, are people asking their elected officials, are you giving grants to community organizations or groups working on like violence prevention, harm reduction initiatives in the city? And I say that because I'm thinking about the whole shot spotter thing, right? There's a grant that was name, I hate the name, it's Shot Stopper. The mayor gave it that name. But that grant went to groups that are focused on community-based violence prevention. And it's been working and everything. So, you know, things like that, not just police responding like we always have had. It's ask their elected officials that things change. Like, you can't possibly think this legal system is the end all be all, and that this is just what I mean. It's in the data, it's in the life experiences that it's not working. And ask those to your school officials too. With schools, there's not, for me, I feel there's not one intervention that will single-handedly replace police. It's more of a constellation of programs to address specific needs, because a school has so many facets to it, and it can differ depending on race, like gender and ethnicity. But fully making sure our teachers feel safe, feel like they are like their worth is known, they're paid properly, fully staffed in the schools. And then, you know, going from there down to mental health, school, resources, recreation, not just sports, but other activities kids can participate in. going down the line there, and making sure all those things are there. Like things have changed, like, and it's okay to say that, and it's okay to embrace this constellation of safety that includes this variety of things. And
Mm-hmm.
I think parents and just people in the state need to be more curious and start asking those questions point blank to the elected officials.
Yeah,
What are you
because you have right. You have communities that don't have cameras up, right? But they have a lot. They don't put millions in the sky for cameras and speakers, but they have programs that they spend millions on within their school systems to afford their kids opportunities and all kinds of after school programs. And if you're right, if we become more curious and ask more questions, we don't always have to look to criminalization as the answer. We can look for other programs or other kind of things that will support better communities. What are we doing to support better communities other than building more jail space and more prison spaces?
I'll say too, like in Chicago, there is something called like a Spring Forward program where formerly incarcerated people, they get 12 months of paid housing, and that with like job placement support. They even have like a reentry director there as well. And you think about recidivism and quote unquote crime, or what I call just harm happening on the street and violence. This is a way to decrease that. This is the type, like, not just jails, this is the type of stuff we could have. We got to think outside the box. The same old, ain't cutting it no more. That's not freedom. This ain't freedom.
Right. Do you really want to be free? Do you really want to be free? Because if you really want to be free, you're right. We can think outside the box. We can come up with better solutions to support better communities. But if we're only looking for that one way that's been embedded since slavery, because it's been embedded in us since slavery, if that's the only way, that's the only thing that's showing up. And so when we get to fast forward to 2024, 60 years later after the civil rights movement, and our choices for presidency is Joe Biden and Donald Trump.
I would just like to say that we're under attack everywhere. But here in Washington County, you better keep that phone on. Keep it on standby, Attorney Hugo Mack, because I don't know if we're gonna need another whole show for this, because I can't go. I'm not gonna go into all the stuff I really want to say about this. But the prosecutor in Washington County came out with a report. The prosecutor transparency report that took a whole almost year to even push out to the public. I don't know, maybe if it was just done just to you know how folks like to do the ta-ta-da-da, I'm running for office again. And by the way, here's my transparency report. I don't know if that's why. So I can't say, but it just magically came out this year. And this report said that while we are 12% of the county's population, that we're 52.5 of the, what do they call them, charges that are brought to the prosecutor's office. Now, I was in a meeting with somebody, I ain't gonna call no names, even though I want to. I ain't gonna do it yet. But I was in a meeting with a representative from the sheriff's office that said, well, if we're just looking at the sheriff's office, for this, then, there are other conclusions that are wrong too. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if 52% of arrests or, requests are being brought up, what does that tell you? What that tells you is that what we're seeing out here, that we're being racially profiled.
Mm-hmm.
That they are following Black folks, pulling them over and be like, oh, well, I smell weed. You a doggone lie. You know you don't smell no doggone weed. But if you say you smell some weed, then you can search the car. All of these things. And then, okay, so that was the prosecutor's report. Now, but in 2020, the Crew report came out. Y'all heard of the Crew report? The Crew report came out, and the Crew report said that Black folks aren't safe in the court system. So I want to know where the hell we safe at. We ain't safe with the police. They wrongfully convicting us and over prosecuting us, and we ain't safe when we sit in front of the judge. So it's probably going to be a whole nother show, but I'm just saying we are under attack. And we can't say that just because I don't care that we have a Black sheriff. What does that mean? That does not mean anything. And I don't care how many good programs roll up out of that sheriff department. If you are not addressing the racism, which is at the core of that office, then all of that good stuff you think you're doing is null and void, because it ain't gonna mean nothing. Because we are being arrested, stuck in a system where if you ain't got money and you ain't got a Hugo Mac, you up the creek without a paddle.
Yes.
So yeah, it's happening across the country, but it's happening in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm nervous. I'm really, really nervous because ain't nobody talking about it.
That's right. That's right.
Ain't nobody saying shit about it. Excuse my French.
That's true.
Where are the Black people that know? Why aren't we talking about this? So you know why I'm mad that we 60 years later? And I've been holding this all night, but I'm going to say it. That paper was signed to rock us to sleep. It was an intentional act. And they, because you know why? Because we so just happy with symbolism. The signing of this paper, and let's stand behind them and click, click, click. And where are we at 60 years later? Because they still killing. Ooh, Jay! No, you did not. Pull that picture up, because that's what we still doing to this day. We happy to just stand there and have a seat at the table. What good is your seat if you can't do what's needed to free your people for real? I'm sorry. I know people say, well, change is small, incremental over time. You know why? Because you get what you say. Maybe if you stop saying that and you do something different, then we could have something different. Our lives are on the line. Our babies, our youth, their lives are on the line. Speak up. Survivors, it's time to turn into thrivers. I'm thinking about changing our name. But I just like it a lot, but it's time for us to change the narrative. My brother said it earlier. We got to stop letting people control the narrative and control our own. I heard somebody else the other day say, I want to go back to segregation, just us. I said, well, it depends on what part of the us you're talking about, because some of us, I don't want to segregate with them. Let me be quiet. Love y'all, man. But we got to do a show about what's going on here in Washington County.
I agree. Because when I tell you, I'm just going to say, Trischè, I saw that. And I was like, what have you been doing? This is the same shit we've known and has been happening.
Nothing.
So like, what we supposed to be having?
He campaigned.
Another
He
study.
campaigned on something different.
He
Like
marched
it's
on
not working.
police
It
account. He
sucks.
was
Like,
at every march.
Like, I got so mad when I saw that. It's like, you partner with U of M to put out this. What is it supposed to do for us? It's doing nothing. It's harmed us. You still harming us.
You still harming us. Like we some
Like,
lab rats.
I don't
That's what
care if
makes me
you
so
liberal
mad.
and all nice and all. None of that matters. The liberalism does not benefit Black people. It only benefits a certain population, clearly.
But it's
So
not
it's
real
still racist.
liberalism, though. That's the thing. It's not true liberalism.
Yeah, like,
because
it's
if it
this.
was, it would show forth some fruit.
Yeah.
Where's the fruit? What have you done for the last 4 years except rub elbows with the police? What has that done? Because see, you said police accountability. Where is it? Because I know that cases were brought before that office where the police was doing things wrong and that nothing happened. Where's the police accountability? Because I know that in the Grady L trial, the officers lied right on the stand. Where's the police accountability, Mr. Prosecutor?
Did he prosecute them?
No, nobody ain't said nothing. It's business, but that's business as usual in there.
Right. And then when you have judges that rule that, hey, the prison isn't obligated to be mold free or to not have mold in it. These are the people that we are electing. And I'm just going to say this because it just needs to be said. Just because somebody is in prison doesn't mean they're not coming home. Doesn't necessarily mean that they're the worst person. Doesn't necessarily mean that they even did the crime that they were in there for. Even if they did, let's say they did, according to whatever, they did whatever they still don't deserve to live in an environment that's going to give them a death sentence when you live in a state that doesn't have the death penalty.
Yeah.
It does.
And what's sad is that the same jail cell, the same cell, if they put a chihuahua in it, they would say that was inhumane for the dog. They would say it was inhumane for the dog. They would send the police, and you would be in trouble for inhumanely taking care of your pet. But yet it's okay for people who are vulnerable population, of people who suffer with trauma, and if they didn't have it going in, they got it now, who are economically already at a disadvantage, educationally, who didn't have enough economic support to get a good lawyer and to defend themselves, and many who are mentally ill. They are the ones who are still behind those bars in a dilapidated, unhealthy, putrid, disease-filled, animal, insect, mold, horrible situation. And it's okay for them.
And
they're
guess
not
what?
considered humane. They're not considered humanity.
Right. They dehumanizing them, and we also are guilty of dehumanizing when we don't see the humanity in other people, regardless of what happens or why they're there. We still have to see the humanity in them. We still have to be sympathetic. We still have to be compassionate. And when we are not doing that ourselves, we are just as guilty as the system that is doing it. So we have to look at ourselves, because that is a reflection of us. When we're not actively participating and people are making these decisions, that's because of you. The decision that you didn't make or made. That's why these things are like that. And when I had to, you know, Crystal called me this week, and she was so in distress and crying and upset because they took her medication away, and the things that they're doing, retaliating against her because she's speaking out. We should be the ones speaking out, you know, saying that, you know, why is this happening? But when we have a system, when we're paying, because it's our tax dollars, let me remind us that that's our tax dollars that are paying these this medical corporation that's supposed to supply the health care to these prisons. They're paying records amount of money because the state outsourced the medical care. And when people are getting paid millions of dollars and not providing the health care, then what are we paying for? We're paying for this. And we're paying for people that's dying. Teresa Dunlap died when she had chemo, black mold in her chemo port. How did black mold get in her chemo port? Because somebody didn't do their job, they're not paying attention, but we're paying. We're paying. So when we look at this and we don't say nothing, then we're part of the problem as well. I wanted to show this video because I want to go. I'm not going to we always got to talk about wrongful convictions. There's two videos I want to show. One that I saw today and I was just like, yes.
Everyone here part of a case where the wrong man was sent to prison for years and years.
You have said that wrongful convictions aren't a single bullet. Mm-hmm. You said they're bombs.
Mm-hmm. A wrongful conviction doesn't hurt like a person. It's not just Raymond Tower got hurt. Like his whole family got shrapnel, and the victims got shrapnel, and the community received shrapnel because a child molester was still in the community. There's just so many people in a wrongful conviction
case.
I think it's hundreds of people for every single wrongful conviction case that are hurt.
Not only did I lose my son, but the state took it upon themselves to create me out to be the worst person in the world. If you are exonerated, that don't mean shit. And I'm just here to tell you, I should not have to fight for what is right. I should not have been on death row, but I was. How do you fix that? Growing up in Mississippi as a teenage mother was kind of hard. I was trying to be a mom and doing teenage things at the same time. And when you're a teenager, you make a lot of mistakes. And I did. My son and I were in an apartment. He was playing on the couch, and it was like nothing was wrong. You know, I didn't see any signs that anything was wrong with him or anything like that. I wasn't gone 10 minutes. And I got a bottle, went to his room, and I noticed that he wasn't breathing. And right then I panicked. So I grabbed him and ran outside. The girl came out and she grabbed him and she put him on the floor and started CPR. The girl that did the CPR told me to blow in his mouth, hold his nose, and press in his stomach. Well, she didn't tell me the right way. So I applied adult CPR to LaWalter all the way to the hospital, thinking that I was doing the right thing, but I wasn't. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I thought I was saving. I never thought that these people would charge me with murder. I just thought that I would go to jail for not, being at the house with my son. And so I said to myself that I couldn't be honest. You gotta lie. That's the first thing I thought. It took them forever to come out and get me to say that they couldn't save him. I couldn't believe what they were telling me. He's gone, we can't save him. And I remember telling them, no, you lying. All you people are lying. And that's when the questions began. And it was like 1,000 people standing around me. did not have proper time to mourn my son. I was only looked at as a person that could have killed my son. And at first I didn't realize that they were leaning toward murder until I got into the interrogation room. When I did finally start telling them what happened, they didn't want to hear that. And the lead detective, he wrote a statement out. He shoved it in my face and told me, you hit your baby, you stomped him, you beat him, this is what you did, and asked me to sign it. And after so long of being no sleep interrogation, I just signed.
So when we talk about wrongful convictions, when we talk about, it's not only just the person who was wrongfully convicted. It's also the family and the whole entire community that it affects. And so when we have these conversations and when we're bringing on people to talk about their stories or family members to tell their stories, when the person is exonerated, it's like no one thinks how all these things affect a community of people. So when we're talking about, paying attention who you're voting for, be more concerned about what's going on in your community, educate yourself on policies, look at who's running for judge, for prosecutor. These are the reason why, because these people bring their people and they carry on their narratives. She was the first woman to be exonerated from death row. She was on death row out 3 years. I think she spent like 6 years in prison. And it took someone to really put the story together. Her son ended up he died because he had kidney failure. He had issues with his kidneys, not because of anything that she did to try to save him. He actually had a problem. And so, we have to, and I think I posted about it, we have to make sure that we're not wrongfully convicting each other, and we're not just following along narratives, and that we're not just speaking on what we hear on the news or whatever. We have to really support each other, and we have to really be about the business of justice, of advocacy, of advocating for each other, even your own people. And like Beulah said, too many of us think we are exempt. And I'm here to tell you, nobody is exempt. Nobody. It can happen to anybody at any time. Isn't that right, Attorney Mack?
That's
the
right.
story goes on and on. We had Darrell's mother on last week. He was in the very big part of the reason why he's exonerated, because he took on the fight for himself. He took on the fight of freeing himself. And we said this all night, do you really want to be free? That's a conversation, because we are under the illusion that we're free, but not when we got cameras running in our faces and speakers all over the place, and people are making policies about you that have never experienced what you're experiencing. People are telling you how you live or what's good for you, and they never lived on your block or even been in your neighborhood. You only see them at election time when you let them in your churches or wherever they might show up. And then you don't see them for 4 years until a report comes out, like what Trischè was just talking about, and whatever, because they're trying to gain your vote again. We have to, sometimes we can't follow these narratives, and sometimes we can't follow these people. that that we've been voting for years, and the ways that we've been doing things. Sometimes we have to just look at what we're doing and ask ourselves why we're doing, and are we really doing it for our freedom, or are we just following the same patterns, thinking that something's going to change, and all we're getting is more of the same. And so, in July, it'd be 60 years for our Civil Rights Act that was enacted. And is it working for us? Is the question. And are you paying attention? Do anyone have anything to say before we go?
We don't want civil rights. We want human rights. We don't want reparations. We want restitution. When people commit crime, they have to pay restitution. So that's what we need to start calling it. Because when they say reparations, it's like they're so detached from it. Nah, this is about restitution. This is about restoration. It's time. So love y'all. And
I like that, restitution. Go ahead, Allie. Your mic not on, Allie.
Okay, what I got from y'all is seek tangible change, policy change from your elected officials, not symbolic. Symbolic does nothing for your life. Tangible change, what affects you in the now, what affects your dollars, what affects your community, emotionally, physically, and mentally. Tangible policy change. Seek that from your local elected officials.
That's right, Allie, because my last words are, don't be so much into the virtual world that you forget what is real. Stay out of that. Don't be so virtual. Don't be so used to what's not real, what's not truthful, what's not honest. Like Alexandria said, what's not tangible, what's not evident, what's not showing up in our community. Don't be so used to it and complacent. And just know that you have power to make a change. It is up to us. It is up to you. It's up to us collectively and individually. Be what you are talking about. Stand on it.
Yeah. Standing on business. Attorney Matt.
Look, I'm so looking forward to our get together in Rochester.
Oh yeah, I got it.
Coming up, okay? But I want to say this, what I get from this session tonight and what I want to leave the group with, I follow and I believe in fact checking the hell out of people, okay? Particularly politicians, I'll fact check the hell out of them, okay? I mean, I get off on that sort of stuff, okay? I like doing that. And PolitiFact is one of the organizations that works on fact checking. And I think I shared this with J Love when I talked to her the other day. There are more Black men in prison, jails, probation, and parole today in 2024 than there were Black male slaves in 1850. I'm gonna say it again. There are more Black men in prison, jail, parole, and probation than there were Black male slaves in 1850. 1850 was like 11 years before the Civil War. You understand? Before the Civil War. Slavery in its heyday of heydays. Okay? So we talk about 2.2 million people incarcerated. That's just the tip of the iceberg, y'all. I'm gonna tell you, as a person that's done a prison sentence, as a person that's been on parole, as a person that's had to have a tether on them, I'm telling you, that prison is far, far, far beyond the MDOC, y'all. I got news for y'all. That prison is far, far, far beyond the MDOC. So when you actually take a look at all those people that are actually under state authority, it could be 10 times that much. You see what I'm saying? and those people are carrying that ball and chain with them. I can tell you from personal experience, that ball and chain with them, and it's affecting their families. Okay, each one of us has got at least 10 people in our family, or at least our immediate family. So you multiply those men times 10. Okay, they in prison too, y'all. So I'm looking forward to Rochester, J Love, you know, and if the good Lord got another assignment for me before that day comes, you speak for me, J Love, okay, and Tia and Trischè and Allie, if you there, whatever, you speak for me, okay, because we got to keep pushing it out there, you know, and the thing of it is, I just believe, if you put something in somebody's face long enough, eventually they're going to react, because they get tired of me, you know, say, well, damn, let's just do something to get the nigga out of here. Excuse my language. Okay, so I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So
I was speak on that, but go ahead, Tony Mac.
Yeah. So anyway, look, y'all. I pride myself on being the bane of the police and prosecutors. I pride myself on that. And I know so many times in my career, I know good and well, under their breath, they thinking in. I know they are. I can see it in their eyes. Hey, look, anyway, I'm gonna end with this. You remember the movie where Morgan Freeman played that principal in that black school? Was that Lean on Me? Remember that? There was a scene in there where the late Robert Guillaume, he was the superintendent, right, of the schools, and Morgan Freeman was Joe Clark. That's his name, was Joe Clark, right? And so there was a situation where some of the administration, some of the Caucasian brothers from the administration was putting a lot of pressure on them about the school, how the school was being run, right? And so Joe Clark told them off. And so Joe Clark was talking to some of his friends when the people left, and one of his friends said, you know what they're saying about you, don't you, Joe? He said, yeah, I know, nigga. And he said, yeah, but I know where they're saying it from too, the parking lot. So look, y'all, look, you got the voice, you got the God power in you. They're going to say it, but make their ass say it from the parking lot, okay?
Right.
So that's it. That's it, J Love. I love y'all.
And what Attorney Mac was talking about, we are going to be on the road next week. We're going to be at Oakland University, the Michigan Coalition of Human Rights at Oakland University. Their team invited us to come out to speak about wrongful convictions, the stories from individuals impacted by injustice, and heroes who defend them. And so we're going to be speaking on that platform. We're going to be, it's going to be myself and Trischè, Reverend Tia, Attorney Hugo Mack. Allie is also invited if she's available. There's going to be also Paula Kenzu is going with us, and Exoneree Larry Smith. And we're going out in the community to educate about wrongful convictions. So if you're available to join us, please join us. That's on Wednesday. The address is here. I'll post it on the Justice for Gerard platforms, and also on my personal platform. It's going to be from 6 to 8. And we appreciate if you join us and we can talk in person. So I'm looking forward to that event. And thank you guys for joining us today. This was just part one of the conversation. We're going to have more conversations about this 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. So, and next week, Nate Frazier is going to be on here with us. So see you guys next week on Turning a Moment into a Movement. We love you.